So this is an important video. This is one of those ones where we made progress on probably the two most important tanks right now. Predator Bay 3000 and the 1200 gallon out in the annex, because they're the two tanks that once they're done opens up a chain reaction of 7 other tank moves and builds and everything. So pretty much we'll start the chaos. But so anyway, in this video we got some of the new fish in the Amazon Discus Aquarium. There's some more to come too. We got a lot of progress on Predator Bay 3000. We got even more progress on one of the 1200 gallon builds out in the annex, and you know, probably some other things. So as always, why don't we just jump right into it? Let's go. So it's finally time to pivot back to the one of the 1200 gallon builds, which it's so close to actually done. I can't believe that I sort of put it off. Well, I guess I was sort of distracted with Predator Bay 3000. And I don't know, every time I come in here, I can't help but check out the 4500 gallon. And new piece of wood I'm thinking over there. That could be cool. All right, no, focus on the 1200 gallon. So let's go through what we have left. We'll do it in order. So the filter box, I have all fiberglass except for just a little bit at the very top. For some reason, I didn't do a couple of the corners at the very top. So I have all the fiberglass cut here. I'll get that knocked out real quick, and then I will start the first coat. Well, actually, first I will take the vacuum and I will clean out all the muck from sanding, because I was in there and got everything sanded down, and we'll vacuum that up. We'll get the first coat of Pond Shield, which is going to be like a bright blue color. So that'll be the first coat. I got 2 kits of this, so we'll get this all coated in bright blue. And then while that is curing, we'll come over here to the main tank, and you can see that it's already got 2 coats, but I'm going to go ahead and put a 3rd coat because I have the Pond Shield, and it's just going to go back. So this has actually been sitting there all the way back from when I built the 4500 gallon. So all I need to do in the main tank here is just go through, sand it, wipe it down, and go ahead and put on a 3rd coat. And you can even see I've even Pond Shielded the top of it and everything. So it is ready to go. We know the glass is around behind back there, so it won't be hard to put that in. So we are very close. So let's get this filter box knocked out, get the coat of paint on there, and then we'll check back, because it's going to look quite a bit different. So I want to peek in on the 220 gallon Amazon Discus Aquarium, because over the next 3 videos or so, we're going to be adding quite a few fish to this tank. So as you see it right now, I have already added about 80 fish, and it probably doesn't look like it because it still looks pretty empty with just a few big discus swimming around and all my catfish. But I have added 17 rams, 40 Serpe tetra, 10 Von Rio tetra, and I don't know, a group, maybe 10 or 12 rummy nose tetra. So, and they're small, don't get me wrong, but it hardly makes a dent on the aquarium. So, but this is literally about a third of the fish that are in quarantine for this tank. Overall, it's going to be over 200 fish we're adding. 100 of them are a small species of tetra, so it's not too crazy. But so we have all those little guys to go, and I'm still figuring out on a couple medium-sized peaceful cichlids that I want to put in. I'm still trying to decide between a couple of front runners. But as you can see, even adding this many fish, it's barely made a dent into the aquarium, and none of these guys are going to grow up so big that it's going to, you know, just dominate the aquarium and everything. So the funny thing is actually 2 reasons I'm adding all the fish. One, the tank looks bare. You know, I want to have this tank just, you know, full of life, fish everywhere, just looking basically like a dense Amazon forest of fish and plants. And that brings me to the second part, which is the plants. I have so many plants in here and not enough fish load that everything's just getting starved out. I've actually been dosing pond fertilizer to this, which is really high in nitrate, because it's meant for emergent grown plants, and it's still just sucking it all up. Literally, I'm nitrate deficient in this aquarium, so to fix that, I'm going to be adding a lot more fish. This, got to keep in mind, this has submerged plants growing in it. As you can see, it's got immersed grown water lettuce coming out the top, and it has a jungle of immersed grown plants in the bottom of it. And it's one of those things where I love all the plants as well, and I just want to keep adding fish and building up the ecosystem till I can balance out all the plants I have, because I actually want to add even more plants. I'm going to increase the lighting to the top for that water lettuce, and I'm going to be adding more water lettuce from the filter from my other aquarium. And we're going to seriously junglify this Asian jungle, or I'm sorry, Amazon jungle aquarium here. So I think you'll see over the next few videos as each group of fish gets added. Probably every 2 weeks I'll add the fish, and we'll see this tank all build up together and hopefully turn into something special. Okay, we are all wiped down over here on the 1200 gallon and ready to put on the final coat of paint. And meanwhile, let's go over to the saltwater growout pond. So one thing I want to talk about real quick is, first of all, this is the 100 gallon saltwater quarantine slash growout. So the fact that we have this all running, it's got live rock and some macroalgae and everything, that's a sign obviously that we got saltwater fish on the way. But I just want to show you that if you leave it like this, you're going to have jumpers, pretty much guaranteed. So we have a mesh net that's flexible but rigid, so we don't want it dipping down in the water, but we want to be able to fold it over the sides and clip it with those clips right there. So when the new fish come in, that will be added to the top. But one quick thing I want to mention is the way I cycled this tub here is, so I made a fresh batch of salt water, put it in there, put the sand, put the salt water, brought it over the live rock, and then for anyone who has a python, when I use my python, I don't drain it all out. It sits on the floor. It's got some water in it. You can see the pipe is, the python is all discolored. That's algae and organics and everything living inside, the pipe from the glass coming, or the tube from the glass coming in the window and everything. And what happens is over a few days, that stuff starts to break down in that water and you get an ammonia smell. And so normally before I use the python, I, put it in the sink and I run it out so I don't smell that anymore. It's clean, and then I use it. But in this case, instead of doing that, I would empty out that ammonia water into the tub here. And this is what I do for all my quarantine tanks. I move over seeded bacteria, but then I always take the python and dose them with that ammonia water to get these going. And this tank is fully cycled. There's never been a fish in here or anything like that. And it is 100% fully cycled just from going that method. So for anyone with a python, it's worked for me for years, both freshwater and saltwater. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, first stage of work is done. I've got the bottom all vacuumed out. I have finished the top area. It's all got a fresh coat of fiberglass all the way up, and a couple spots on the pole just above the screws here and there. I had done the outside too, so I had to finish that up. And then if we come around to the main tank here, you can see that I have sanded the entire tank. Yes, I'm breathing heavy because I just finished. So the purpose of this is twofold. Main purpose is to rough up the existing coat because it gets a very hard, smooth finish on it, especially because I painted this months ago, so it was well cured. So you got to get all roughed up so that it will create tiny little abrasions that the next coat can adhere to. So think of like little fingers gripping each other. As funny as it sounds, it kind of works out like that. And second of all, knock off any high points. There's those little spots where you got stuff sticking up, and you go ahead and knock that off so that the next coat will go on smoothly. So obviously it takes a little bit of time for that to cure. So before I put on the first coat in the filter box, I'll be putting on the final coat in the main box here. I just need to go ahead and get a wet towel, like a damp towel, wipe this down and let it dry, and then I can go ahead and put the final coat of paint on here, which is awesome because as I'm putting the layers on the filter box, I can go ahead and install the glass. So then once that filter box is done, this bad boy 1200 gallon will be ready to turn on. So for all the complaining I've done recently about how those Higher Pro lights don't just have like an on mode that I can use with my timers, and I had to break down and use the 24-hour mode with the whole night light and everything, I have to admit I've kind of become fond of the red moonlight. It's very powerful. Lights up this massive 4,500 gallon, 33-foot long aquarium, and it pretty much, not only does it show the fish in another light, obviously, a very red light, but they take on a much more chill demeanor. They just in a very, very relaxed way cruise around the tank, and I find myself always wanting to go in there before I head upstairs for the night and see these guys with the moonlight going, just seeing it's the calm behavior of everybody just cruising the tank. It's very relaxing. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys for a minute or so and let you guys see what I see every night, watching the big boys cruising around in the 4,500 gallon. Okay, on to Predator Bay 3000. This is something I've been really looking forward to show you guys. This is 2 days of the sump doing its magic and clearing up the water, and you can see a giant mound of sand. So yeah, I have a little bit of sand to move around in there, but that's not really what I want to talk about. What I'm looking forward to showing you guys in the next video, I believe, I'm pretty almost positive it'll be the next video, is I'll be in there and I'll be doing the aquascape. Now this aquascape has two parts to it because I have sharks. I've kept sharks multiple times and I know what they're capable of, and they're capable of knocking things over. So I'm not depending on the actual rocks that make up the aquascape to basically protect, to create the structure. I'm going to create a structure underneath that. So there'll be an entire structure of the reef as it's going to be, and then the rocks will be layered over the top of it, and there's going to be specific functions to it. It's going to create large caves that 4-foot sharks can go into. It's going to create areas that would be suitable for future eels but not suitable for sharks to get in there. It's going to create some sight breaks with some height in certain places for the top water fish, you know, like think of groupers and snappers and things like that. So there's a lot of rhyme to the reason of it, and as I start to build it in there, I'll explain all of it, and then of course we'll coat it with a bunch of base rock. Like I have a bunch of base rock here, I have boxes full of base rock down here, and then lastly, once that's done, once we have the frame of the scape, the base rock on the scape, then we'll convert this to saltwater, and then once it's ready, then we come over here and we start the process of taking all of this seeded rock inside of Predator Bay, getting it situated over into Predator Bay 3000, and then lastly, moving these guys over, which, yeah, that's gonna be fun. I probably need to get a camera person for that, because I'm sure you guys would have a blast watching me get soaked bear hugging a shark and moving them, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet over from Predator Bay 1800 to Predator Bay 3000. And then lastly, Predator Bay 3000, it's not just an aquarium, it's an ecosystem. It has a 1,000-gallon mangrove estuary attached to it, and it has a very large, well, 350-gallon on the low end, 500-gallon if it's filled all the way up sump. So there's still work to do back here. We need to aquascape the entire mangrove estuary, this big deep 4-foot section, and this 3-foot section over here. I need to get some things to clean the glass, but at any rate, we need to do the aquascaping over here, set up the protein skimmer, and then lastly, the reason we have light specifically shining like that is we're going to have red mangroves connected here with their roots in the water. We're going to have those roots grow all the way down into that deep sand base down there. So we're going to have rock, we're going to have mangrove roots and mangroves growing up. So still a lot of work to aquascape this as well. And over here I don't need to do the same sort of structure as with the big sharks, because this is an estuary. This is where babies start off, and where I keep basically parts of the filtration that aren't suitable to be around big sharks. So think like filter feeding invertebrates and macroalgae and things of that nature. So earlier in the video we took a look at the 220-gallon Discus aquarium, and we know we added a whole bunch of fish to it. We added a lot of serpes, a lot of rummy-nosed tetra, and 17 different ram cichlids. That's only half of the fish that I have for this. I went ahead and added half of them, and the other half are still in quarantine. They came at different times, but they're very small, so they're not super impactful to the look of the aquarium from a distance, but there are a lot of them, and there's going to be more coming in, and I love that group of cerbi, Corey. Those are, I mean, honestly, every time I see the entire group of cerbi moving around like that, I just love it, which is what they typically do. They stay hang together, so Cory cats are just awesome. At any rate, sorry, a little sidetrack there. There's still a lot more fish to go, and obviously once these start growing in, it's going to be much more impactful. And lastly, I moved the lights down a little bit. You can see all the plants they're very minimally growing at best, if not dying back. There's just not enough light for them. The exact same plants in the same water in the sump of the Asian jungle aquarium are just growing like crazy. So I'm gonna have to add some more light. I haven't figured out exactly what I want to do to make it aesthetically look nice, but something's gonna have to happen. Maybe I just double up the castles. I do have some I'm not using. You know, maybe that could be the easy way. But something's got to give, because I want those guys to thrive, not just sort of barely get by or melt away. So I'll figure that out. But still a lot to come with the 220 Discus aquarium, Amazon Discus aquarium. But it's a good start getting these smaller fish in here. Finally getting this thing built back up, get it more dynamic looking. All right, who's ready for Amazonian Islands, the 1,200-gallon version? So we know the current Amazonian Islands is a 750-gallon, and now it's going to be this massive 1,200. So let's start with the sump. So obviously I made the mistake of building the sump all the way up before I fiberglassed and painted it, so I had to do a lot harder work than I would have. I'm learning from that mistake, and over here on the other 1,200, I'm going to bring it halfway up, glass it, paint it, then do the other half. So what I had to do here is I got the coats of blue on there, but I had some leftover from the last coat of black, so I did a pour. I did a big pour down there, and as you can see, it was thick. So it was, you know, maybe this thick, and I was able to bring it up on the wall and just fill every crack, every hard to reach spot, like around the bottom of the pole and the corners and everything. So, and then a little bit left over I just put on the walls. So I'm very happy about that. It looks really good with the pour. I'm gonna get one more 1.5 quart kit just to finish off the top, which is easy to reach. But this is all wet right now, so I'll do that later. So we are almost done with the sump, and this is the third coat of Pond Shield, Pond Armor on the main tank. So it is done. I don't even, I mean, honestly, I'm sure it didn't even need this third coat, but I have it. I like to overkill everything. And one quick thing I like to point out is I also do Pond Armor the tops of all the tanks and the tops of the plywood as well. That's a, you know, that's something that could very much undermine your tank. So I treat the top of the tank just like the inside of the tank. When you have lids on top of it, which I will, you're gonna get, water's gonna splash up, you're gonna get condensation. So this area is, the whole top area of the tank is exposed to a lot of moisture. So just treat it like the tank. And then like over here too, so this is above the water line, but you know, this is gonna be open to water down here. You know, just treat it like it's the tank. It's gonna be exposed to a higher level of humidity than, you know, than normal. So any rate, so the exciting part here is Amazonian 1200 gallon. We know we have the glass right back over here, so that obviously is the next step, just finishing off the paint on the sump and installing the glass. But let me go show you what a big deal this tank is, because this is the tank that sets off the chain reaction in the fish room. Let me show you. So this is the 750 gallon Amazonian islands, and all of these guys are the guys who are moving in to the 1200 gallon. The true parrot cichlids, the Severum, the large angels, the Acara. They're going to be getting a lot of new friends. The Amazonian islands is going to change a lot, but at any rate, once these guys move into the 1200 gallon, that kicks off the move. So these guys move to the 1200 gallon, and this 750 gallon becomes the new Malawi tank. So let me show you the current Malawi tank. So we know the current Malawi tank as the Malawi River Aquarium, and it used to be heavily planted, but since I know I'm moving everything, I took a lot of those plants and moved them over to the Asian jungle when I replanted it. Now, what that caused in here was a way more aggression. When I had all the site breaks from all those plants, I had zero aggression. Now that I've pulled all those plants out, it's gone up considerably. So I'm really looking forward to getting these guys into the new 750 gallon build and getting the aquascape done again properly to mitigate all that aggression, as well as add a bunch of new Malawi species to the tank. As well as, we know that this has got the leaky sump. I just have to let it leak out, you know, a little bit of water every day to keep the ecosystem going, but I can't wait to get that done. So there'll be no more sump. This is going to be maintained, so I'm going to keep this tank running. I'm going to get all these fish out and they'll go to the new home, but back from a bacteria, from a cycle standpoint, this will keep running. All the plants will stay and everything. In fact, there'll be some plants from the sump that will be coming up into the new aquascape. There will be no more sump. It'll all be self-contained up here. And there's a few of you who are really gonna like the fish that are moving in here. So this becomes a whole new tank. These guys move to the 750, whole new African cichlid tank. The current Amazon cichlids move to the 1200 gallon. So it triggers a whole bunch of moves, and I'm looking forward to all of them because they are a long time coming. It always takes a lot longer to build and fix these things, you know, with work and other commitments than I expect. But this is a long time coming, and I'm looking forward to redoing, rescaping all these tanks. So as much progress as we made in this video, I think the next video is going to be even crazier. I think we're going to have a big time Shark and Ray aquascape going in Predator Bay 3000. I think the estuary is going to be up and running in terms of you know, live or rock in there, rockscape and mangroves and everything like that. I think the 1200 gallon is going to be running. I think we're going to be, or at least water testing, that kind of thing. I think we're going to be talking about that aquascape. And most of all, with these two builds, we're opening up the floodgates to all the craziness like I've been talking about. So there's going to be a lot of fish getting big upgrades on their housing, and new tanks coming online and new scapes, just a ton of awesomeness. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you very soon.